Have you ever wondered what Zen is really all about? It's not some religion about memorizing ancient texts or believing in a bunch of complex doctrines. Nope. At its heart, it's a path, a practice built entirely on one powerful idea: direct personal experience. So let's start with a question that gets right to the core of Zen. What if enlightenment isn't some prize you have to win or something you need to acquire? What if it's something you simply realize you've had all along? This one simple but totally profound idea is going to be our guide through this entire explainer. Okay, so let's really dive in and get to the bottom of what Zen actually is. It's a tradition that's influenced everything from gardening to martial arts. But what's the engine driving it all? What's going on under the hood? Well, Zen is a school of Mahayana Buddhism, that's just one of the two main branches, and it got its start as Chan in China. Now, the name itself comes from the Sanskrit word for meditation, dhyana, and that is the absolute key. It's this unique blend of Indian Buddhism and Chinese Daoism that says, hey, forget just reading about it. The goal is to realize your own innate Buddha nature through your own direct experience. So if the path is direct experience, what's the destination? Well, here's the thing. In Zen, the goal isn't really a place you arrive at, but a profound shift in how you see everything. Let's explore two huge concepts that try to describe this awakening: satori and emptiness. First up is satori. Now, it often gets translated as enlightenment, but it's not a permanent state you achieve, like getting a degree. Think of it more like a sudden intuitive flash of insight, a lightning bolt of an epiphany that gives you a glimpse into the true nature of reality, a view that words and logic just can't touch. And this quote just nails it. D.T. Suzuki, the scholar who was so crucial in bringing Zen to the West, frames satori not as something you know, but as a state of mind. It's that experience you have when you finally let go of the need to label, analyze, and categorize everything around you. Now, to experience satori, you have to get your head around sunyata, or emptiness. And this is a hugely misunderstood concept. It does not mean a void or nothingness. Instead, it means that nothing, you, me, this screen, has a fixed, permanent, independent identity. Everything is connected, everything is always changing. Think of a wave in the ocean. The wave isn't separate from the water, right? Emptiness isn't an empty box. It's an open field of boundless possibility. Okay, so this all sounds pretty profound, but how do we actually practice this? How do we turn these big, abstract ideas into a concrete, daily discipline? The foundation of Zen practice is meditation, and it comes in two main flavors. You have zazen, which is the classic seated meditation, the practice of stillness where you just learn to watch your mind without getting caught up in the drama. And then there's kenhin, which is walking meditation. This is all about bringing that same focused awareness off the cushion and into movement, turning a simple walk into a really deep practice. Now, beyond meditation, some schools of Zen use this fascinating tool called a koan. A koan isn't a riddle you're supposed to solve with a clever answer. No, it's a paradoxical question or story that's designed to throw a wrench in the gears of your logical mind. The point isn't to figure it out, it's to use it to break through your normal way of thinking. And this is the classic example, right? This question can't be answered logically. I mean, think about it. A sound needs two things to interact, to happen. So by asking for the sound of one hand, the koan pushes your mind beyond that black and white world of subject and object. It's pointing you toward a direct experience of reality that's beyond words. So while the goal of awakening is the same, over time, different maps to get there started to develop. In Japan, two major schools of Zen popped up, and each one has its own distinct flavor and its own methods. So you've got Soto Zen, founded by Dogen, which really emphasizes shikantaza, or just sitting. The idea here is that the practice is the enlightenment. It's a path of slow and steady cultivation. On the other hand, you have Rinzai Zen, founded by Issai, and it's known for being pretty intense, using those koans to try and provoke a sudden breakthrough. I mean, even their meditation halls are different. Soto practitioners face a wall to minimize distractions, while Rinzai practitioners face each other, which adds this whole other level of confrontational energy. So how did this practice travel from a cave in China to meditation centers all over the world? Well, the history of Zen is this really cool story of how an idea can be transmitted and adapted across totally different cultures and centuries. It all kicks off around the 6th century, when Indian meditation practices got to China and became Chan. Then, it really took off with figures like Huning, the 6th patriarch, who pushed this idea of sudden enlightenment. Fast forward to the 12th century, Chan makes its way to Japan, becomes Zen, and that's when the Rinzai and Soto schools are born. And finally, in the 20th century, writers like D.T. Suzuki bring Zen to the West, and it just explodes in popularity. This famous Zen saying just perfectly captures the whole spirit of the practice. What it means is that awakening isn't about escaping your daily life. You're not going to learn to levitate or get superpowers. It's about completely transforming your relationship to your ordinary life, so that the simple act of chopping wood or carrying water is experienced with this totally new depth and presence. And that really brings us right back to the beginning. If the core message of Zen is that enlightenment isn't in some faraway monastery or buried in an ancient text, but it's right here in the middle of our messy, ordinary lives, what's one simple, mundane thing in your day that you could look at with fresh eyes? What could you experience differently right now?